And I'm going to talk to you today about 14 reasons you don't need self-improvement. You ready to go? Ready. One of my favorite writers, Seth Godin, continually asks the question, what's stopping you? What's getting in your way? Why are you not playing a bigger game, having a bigger conversation, having a bigger impact on the world? And his answer always comes back to the same thing. It's you. And you. I mean, it's me. It's we. We collectively are biologically programmed to avoid fear. When there is the possibility that we might fail, what happens is we shrink back. We don't take a risk. We don't put ourselves out there in a way that we might get hurt, and that way we prevent getting hurt, but of course it also prevents us from making a change, from growing in a new direction. So one of the strategies that we use to do that, and there are many ways we trick ourselves into not moving, is to tell ourselves stories. One version of those stories are about the horrible things that could happen. Oh my God, if I do that, people will laugh at me, so we stay where we are. Another thing we do, which is very subtle and very insidious, is we tell ourselves stories about how fabulous things are right now, which lulls us into thinking the status quo is okay. So the first thing we're going to do today, and I have a little prop here, I'm going to invite you to pull out this half-page handout here. I'm going to walk you through a little assessment to examine some of the stories that you might be telling yourself that are holding you in place. So the handout is entitled 14 Reasons I Don't Need Self-Improvement. So pull out a pen, and I have a couple of instructions for you. We're going to go through this quickly. The first instruction is, be a strict grader. If it is not always true for you, do not check it off. Number two, if this statement does not resonate for you, like if I read it and you go, I don't really care about that, you can check it off. You can give yourself credit for it because it's not a yes or no. It's irrelevant for you. And the third thing is, move fast. Don't overthink this. Whatever your gut reaction is probably the highest truth. So you ready to go? All right. Statement number one, I have achieved all my career goals and have complete career security. Yes or no, on or off. Number two, I am fully balanced and healthy in all of my life choices, in all of the ways that I take care of myself. Number three, I have no stressors in my life. Keep in mind that stressors are another form of story. All of my personal, professional, and familial relationships are solid and positive and exactly where I wish them to be. You get to set the criteria for that. Number five, I never experience doubt. Not me. 6, I am always on time, both in schedule and in project management. This is one of my wife's favorite ones to check off because, of course, I am her polar opposite. I have all the money and financial security I need. Now notice it does not say I have all the money in the world. It just says I have what I need. You get to define that. Number 8, I love myself fully and conditionally. What do you see and what do you say to yourself when you look in the mirror? Number 9, I've finished learning everything I will ever need for now and my future. Number 10, I feel good about the physical spaces in which I live and work. So this would be like your home, your car, your office. Think about the feng shui of it. Think about the decluttering of it. And if you need help there, by the way, one of our speakers later today is going to be helping you out, I think. I love and respect everyone in my world. This doesn't mean you love everyone in the world. It just means that maybe you've figured out how to distance yourself from toxic relationships. Number 12, I have enough fun and renewal in my life. However you define that, whatever's enough for you. Number 13, I am totally comfortable being vulnerable. In other words, I am okay saying I'm wrong, I don't know, I made a mistake. And number 14, I am in touch with my life purpose, my core values, and whatever higher truth is important for me. So now, pull out your phone, do the calculations, count up the number of statements you have checked, and ask yourself, okay, where am I? Now the scoring rubric is at the bottom. You can figure that out for yourself. Anyone here need a hug after this? Okay, well, we'll administer those afterwards. So, thank you. So, this isn't a solution here. This is an exercise in self-awareness because all personal change has to begin with self-awareness. First, you have to know where you are so that you can then look ahead at where you want to be and understand the gap. But of course, the first thing that happens when you look at that gap is what? Fear, terror show up. And that's what holds you where you are. One of the places that I live and work is at the collision of leadership, happiness, and coaching, where those all come together. And so one of my mantras is that leadership is not about a title. Anyone can be a leader who behaves in a way that positively impacts other people. So being an effective leader is about how you behave, how you show up in the world, and the path to changing that is first being self-aware of how you're showing up now. Personal change starts from the same place. First you have to ask yourself, where am I? Then, where do I want to be? Then look at that chasm and start to ask yourself, where do I need to go? What do I need to do? And of course, that's when Mr. Fear comes to visit and holds you hostage. So I'm going to introduce you to 2 quick tricks you can use to work around that fear or to get underneath the radar of it. The first trick I call start small. We set a goal, and a goal is like this glorious thing up on a hill. And we want to be there, and it's bright and shiny, and we lust after it. And then we look at the distance between where we are and where that goal is. Like, oh my God, I don't think I can do this. We get overwhelmed, and we shut ourselves down. Start small is about adopting principles out of manufacturing like Kaizen and project management, where you say, you know what? We don't have to do it all at once. Let's back down and identify what is the smallest thing that I could do that would move me forward, yet won't activate my fear response, my status quo meter. So a lot of people say, well, I don't work out. I'm going to commit to 4 days a week for an hour. It's not going to happen, right? But if you start small, what you might do is go, well, what could I do to which I could commit 100%, right? And maybe it's, I'll put on my clothes. I'll put on my workout clothes. Or when there's a commercial on TV, I'll stand in place. I'll walk in place, right? You know. So start small is a tool that will allow you to kind of get under the fear. You know, in the absence of going under the radar, what you have to do is you have to figure out how to dig deep and pull up some degree of courage to cross that chasm. And I want to be clear, courage is not the absence of fear. Courage is about when you face the fear and move forward anyway, when you dance with the fear. The final tool I'd like to introduce you to is a somatic one. And at the risk of messing up cameras, I'm going to invite you all to stand up for just a moment. Many of you are probably familiar with the concept of the mind-body connection. And the mind-body connection is about what we think shows up in our emotions, which then show up in our body as responses. How we breathe, how we walk, how we talk, how we sweat. Those are all responses to our thinking, right? So I'm going to show you how to get around that. You reverse the polarity by starting and putting on a different body, which will then give you a different emotional state, which will change your thinking to allow more possibility in achieving your goal. So very quickly, we're going to build a body of confidence. So I invite you to put your feet shoulder width apart and really ground yourself. Feel your roots. Secondly, I invite you to use your entire spine. Stand as tall as you can. And notice as you do so that your shoulders open up and your heart opens up. This is the body of confidence. Notice that when you are in confidence, you are also very exposed. Someone could come and rip out your entrails. This is also called vulnerability. So the place at which you are your strongest, you are also the most open. That's a paradox. The final piece is breath. I invite you to take a deep breath. Oh, look, you all did that so nicely, right? Okay. So let's all breathe out together. And then take a breath into your deep belly. And notice how your whole emotional state starts to shift. It becomes easier to believe in yourself. If you were to hold this body for 2 minutes, your access to confidence would open up, which would change the thinking to more possibility. I want to give you one tiny additional ingredient. If you add one thing to this body, you can change it to a body of happiness. Anybody know what that ingredient is? A smile. Okay, put a smile on. Because you all know that when you smile, you release extra chemicals in your brain, and you actually start to feel good. And plus, when you have a smile on, you smile at other people, they reflect back, and suddenly it starts to ripple out from you, right? Okay, so have a quick seat, and I invite you, if you take nothing else from my talk, notice that if you're having a bad day or you're trying to move forward in some way, all you need to do is what we call fake it till you make it. Stand tall, breathe deeply, and smile. And notice how the world changes around you. Thank you.